This question requires you to be able to read and be able to write your equation and then of course solve it. It says write an equation and state the correct solution. It says 2/3 of a number. So that is really just saying 2/3 of a number. You could call it x and whatever. In this case we're using x's. It says equals 6, so you put equals 6. It's that simple equation, and you want to solve this. You have a fraction. If you don't want the fraction, multiply everything by the denominator of that fraction, in this case 3. So the 3's cancel out. You end up with a 2x equaling 18. And of course, to get rid of the multiplication of 2 in front of x, you'd have to do the opposite, divide by 2, giving you your final answer, x equals 9. So the original equation is 2/3 x equals 6, and there it is, 2/3 x equals 6, but they don't have the correct answer, x equals 9, so that one's wrong. Actually, all of these are wrong. The only one that's right is the none of these, right? None of these is correct. If you got that right, great. So on this question, it's really easy. It's already simplified. There's no distributed property, no combining like terms, but you could change the minus minus on the x to a plus plus. Okay, so let's do that. So what we really have is 8 plus x equals -1. You want to get x by itself. You don't want that 8, so you're going to subtract 8, and what you do to one side, you must do to the other. You will now have x equals -9, and that is your answer. X equals -9. We want to solve this equation. What's the goal? To get x by itself on one side. Where is your x at? Is it on the left side of the equal sign or the right side? It's on both sides. You got x's on the left and on the right. You don't want it on both sides. You only want it on one side. So let's get rid of one of them. Which one do you want to get rid of? The 2x or the 3x? Doesn't even matter. Okay, let's go with 2x. So let's get rid of that 2x by subtracting 2x. That'll cancel out. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. Subtract 2x from the 3x. So your new equation is that -7. It's going to come down. The equal sign is going to come down. And we know that 3x take away 2x is simply 1x. And you don't even have to put the 1 in front of the x. And that -1 is also going to come down. So we have x on the right side of the equal sign. Let's get that x by itself. I don't want the -1. I want to get rid of that -1 by doing a +1, +1, giving you your final answer, -6 equals x. X equals -6. So we have this multi-step problem that does require simplification. On the left side of the equal sign, there is no distributed property, but there is combining like terms. You could combine this x with this x. X plus x is 2x. And of course, the -7 that's right here, you're just going to bring it down. So on the left side, we have a 2x minus 7. And of course, we're going to bring down the equal sign right here. And over here on the right side, do not do 5 take away 3. That's incorrect. So you can't do the 5 take away 3. We must distribute, must multiply before subtracting. So don't do 5 take away 3, but distribute the -3. -3 times x is a -3x. And then -3 times -1, that's a +3. Now don't forget about this 5 that was out here in the front. I need to bring this down. I want to put that 5 right there, right in front. So what I really have on my right side is 5 take away 3x, which I can't do, but then I have a +3. So I have distributed the -3. I could now combine like terms, the 5 and the 3. That gives me an 8. So I would do this in my head, 5 plus 3, that'll give me a +8. Bring down the -3x that's in front of it. Bring down the equal sign. Bring down the 2x minus 7. And now we have what we call a simplified equation. You want to get x by itself. Where's x at? The left side of the equal sign or the right side of the equal sign? It's on both sides of the equal sign. So let's move one of those x's to the other side. I am going to choose to get rid of the -3x by doing the opposite, which is +3x. That'll get rid of it. What I do to one side, I must do to the other, +3x. That gives us a 5x on the left side, a -7, an equal sign, and an 8. We almost have x by itself. We're 2 steps away. So I need to get rid of the -7 first. How do I get rid of a -7? By adding 7 and adding 7. We now have a 5x equaling 15. And what does 5x equal 15 actually mean? It means 5 times x equals 15. So to get rid of multiplication of 5 in front of the x, you'd have to divide by 5. and divide by 5, because what you do to one side, you do to the other. This cancels out. You end up with x equaling 3. So I hope everybody understands that. Yeah? Okay. Here's a quick explanation of this question. It's very simple. There is no distributed property, no combining like terms. You ask yourself, where's the x at? Well, it's on both sides of the equal sign. So what we must do is get rid of one of those x's. I'm going to choose to get rid of the 3x. You could get rid of the other x, but I'm going to get rid of the 3x by subtracting 3x. It'll cancel out. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So on the right side of my equal sign, look, my equal sign just came straight down. But on the right side, negative 1x and a negative 3x, that's a negative 4x. And what do I have left on the left side? Well, this guy canceled out. I only have a minus 4 left over on the left side, so that's what I bring down. So my new equation is a negative 4 equals negative 4 times x. You want x by itself on the right side. You don't want the multiplication of negative 4 right in front of it. So we're going to divide by negative 4. That'll cancel it out. What you do to one side, do to the other. Divide by negative 4, and you'll get 1 equals x. X equals 1 is the final answer. So a lot of people get confused with this, right? Because we rarely see x in the denominator of a fraction. You want to get x by itself on one side of the equal sign, but you don't want it in the denominator of a fraction. So how do you get rid of a fraction? By multiplying everything by the denominator of that fraction that you want to get rid of. In this case, the denominator is the actual variable x, so multiply by x. And what you do to one side, do to the other side. So what do we have? We have an equal sign, and on the left side of the equal sign, we have the 3x, bless you, by the way, 3x. And on the right side, well, the x is canceled, so I just have a 5. And that new equation now reads 3 times x equals 5. And you don't want that multiplication of 3 in front of the x. You want to get x by itself. So you'd have to divide by 3 and divide by 3. And you can't really divide a 5 by 3, so you would leave it like a fraction. That's your answer. X equals 5/3. That's about it. Let's jump to another question. Okay, so this question is hands down one of the hardest questions on this section. It's so hard that I'm probably not going to put this on the test itself. So this is just for you to know if you wanted to challenge yourself and try to do this. Step 1 on solving any equation is to simplify each side of the equation. So you have an equal sign. Is there any distributed property or any combining like terms over here? No. Is there any distributed property or combining like terms over here? Yes, there is. So you're going to distribute the minus 4 times x. That'll give you a negative 4x. And distribute minus 4 times 3. That'll give you a negative 12. And of course, you still have the 2x that comes down. So you have the 2x right in front of that minus 4x minus 12. And we are going to combine like terms. After all, simplifying means distributed property and then combine like terms. So you could combine your x's with your x's. 2x take away 4x is a negative 2x. Bring down the minus 12, and that's all you could do on the right side of this equal sign. So you have your equal sign right here. This is simplified now. Now let's look at the left side and just rewrite it. So I have a minus 2x. I have a minus fraction 2 over x plus 1. And we need to get x's by itself on one side. So let's get x's by itself on one side. The problem is we have x over here and an x right here and an x down here. So let's begin with the simple negative 2x's. I could get rid of this negative 2x by adding 2x. That'll get rid of it. And what I do to one side, I must do to the other side. Add 2x over here to that x. And it also eliminates. So that works out pretty nice. We end up with a negative 2 over x plus 1 equaling, bring down the minus 12. Again, the fraction that's negative just came down. I rewrote it. The equal sign came down. The minus 12 came down. So we have this simple equation. Well, not that simple, but we do have a fraction, and we don't want a fraction, especially because the x is down there. So how do we get rid of this fraction? You multiply it by the denominator. Multiply everything by the denominator. Now, the important part right here is that you actually have a binomial that's a denominator. So you're going to multiply by that exact binomial x plus 1. And what you do to one side, you do to the other side, multiply that side also by x plus 1. So yes, the x plus 1 binomial cancels with the x plus 1 binomial. And what do we have left? We have a negative 2 equaling, no more fraction, and distribute negative 12 times x is negative 12x, and negative 12 times 1 is negative 12. So we have x on the right side. We need to get it by itself on the right side, so we would add 12 and add 12, which means we will get the answer on the left side, positive 10, because negative 2 take plus 12. If you owe $2 and have $12, you're going to have $10 left over, equals negative 12x, which really means negative 12 times x. So the way to get rid of multiplication of negative 12 in front of the x is to divide by negative 12. And when you do to one side, do to the other, divide by negative 12. So our final answer will be negative 10 twelfths, equaling, that canceled out, x. So yes, x equals negative 10 twelfths. However, you could reduce this. So reduce by 2 and reduce by 2, giving your final answer, x equals 5 over 6 with the negative in the front, or up on top with the 5. There's your answer, x equals negative 5/6. I apologize, that's some crazy work right there. Again, this one's so complicated that I probably will not put it on the test, but if you're an A student, you probably want to know how to do this anyway. Let's move on to the next question. So on this question, it's definitely a multi-step problem, and step one on any equation is to try to simplify. What does simplify mean? It means distributive property, which you do have right here. You have a negative 3 times x and a negative 3 times negative 1. When you multiply negative 3 times x, that's a negative 3x. When you multiply negative 3 times negative 1, that's a positive 3. And of course, we do have this 5 that's left over, so I'm going to bring down that 5. And I have a 5 left over. I'm going to bring down the equal sign also. And you know what? I'm not even going to worry about the left side right now. Right now, I'm going to focus in on doing distributive property, which I already did, and also combining like terms, which I'm about to do right now. I have a 5 right here and a 3 right there. In my mind, combine 5 and 3, you're going to get a positive 8. So on the right side of this equal sign, I do have negative 3x and with a plus 8. When I combine the 5 and the 3, I get 8, okay? The negative 3x just came down. That's as simple as the right side could get. On the left side, there is no distributive property, but there is combining like terms. I could combine the negative 4x with the positive x. You have $1, you owe $4, you're going to still owe $3. So let me rewrite that. I owe $3, okay? Once again, I combined the x with the negative 4x, and I got the negative 3x. Now what about that minus 7? I'm just going to bring it down right here. So there is my minus 7. And here's my new simplified equation. There is no more distributive property, no more combining like terms. And now I could focus in on getting x by itself on one side of the equal sign. Now where's the x at? Is it on the left side or the right side of the equal sign? It's on both sides. So you don't want that. So let's get rid of one of them. I am going to get rid of the minus 3x on the right side by doing the opposite, plus 3x. Now what I do to one side, I do to the other side, add 3x. And what happens is that this cancels with that, and what's left over, well, there's a negative 7 equals 8. Let me actually write that down. Negative 7 equals 8. Now what do you think about that? Negative 7 equals 8? Heck no, that's impossible. So you're going to write no as in no solution, okay? No solution. I guess you could type in NS, and that would be the correct answer, right? Or you could type in the word no solution. That also works. This is a no solution problem. Let's move on to the next question. Oh my goodness, this is a super fun one because it does require tons of simplification. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore the right side. I'm just going to focus in on the left side, okay? So what should I do first? Do I subtract 7 take away 2? Do I multiply by distributing the minus 2? Do I subtract x? Yeah, you have to multiply before adding or subtracting, so we are going to do exactly that. A negative 2 times negative 3x is a positive 6x. A negative 2 times a negative 4, that's a positive 8. And of course, we're going to bring down this 7 right here. So I have a 7 in front, and I'm also going to bring down this minus x at the end down here. So I'm going to bring down the minus x. So I have distributed, now I still need to combine like terms. I do have this 6x with this minus x. I want to combine both of those. As a matter of fact, when you combine positive 6x, take away one regular x, that will be a positive 5x. So I have a positive 5x, And I also have the 7 plus 8, which is 15, okay? So the entire left side of this equal sign, the entire left side simplifies down to this binomial 5x plus 15. So I do have the equal sign separating the left side from the right side, right? You just bring down that equal sign. Now on the right side, I also need to do distributive property and combine like terms, if it's there, which it is. Let's distribute minus 3 times x, that's negative 3x, minus 3 times negative 1 is a positive 3. And then of course we could bring down this 8x, so that's what we're going to do, bring down the 8x, and we could also bring down the 12 right there. So we have a 12 right here, plus 12. Maybe I should put that in black just the way I did the other one. Anyways, now after distributive property, we need to combine like terms, and there's 4 terms, and you could combine the x's with the x's and the numbers with the numbers. Combining 8x, take away 3x, that does give us a 5x, and I write it down here. And then I could combine the 3 plus 12, and that'll give us a plus 15. So as you could see, we have the left side being identical to the right side. So you already know that there's an infinite amount of answers. You could say x equals all real numbers. You could say infinitely many solutions or infinitely many answers. Let's say you didn't see that already and you continued to solve, like you're like, I want to get x by itself, and you subtract 5x, and you subtract 5x, which also cancels. You end up with 15 equals 15, which is always true. That's always true. So that's not no solution. That's infinitely many solutions, infinitely many solutions. You could also say x equals all real numbers because technically it doesn't matter what the x values are. You could plug in any number. You could plug in 3 right there, 3, 3, 3, and do all the math, and it'll be something true. You see what happens is the x's cancel out. That means x's are insignificant. This is always going to be a true statement. 15 equals 15. So there's an infinite amount of solutions. So we are on our final question here. There's a bunch of fractions. There's no need to get scared of fractions. You could get rid of any fraction you want by multiplying everything by the denominator of that fraction. So if you wanted to get rid of the 1/2, you would multiply by 2, multiply by 2, multiply by 2, multiply by 2. I always recommend looking at all of your denominators and figuring out that your common denominator is 8, right? Your LCD is 8, which means that if you multiply all of your denominators by that 8 value, you'll be able to eliminate all fractions at the same time. Now, even if you're not good at thinking of the lowest common denominator, why not just go with the highest denominator? That may be your LCD, which in this case it is, right? So go ahead and start by getting rid of that fraction with the highest denominator, with the greatest denominator, which is 8. So you're going to multiply this by 8, but you're also going to multiply this by 8, this by 8, multiply everything by 8. Now, this is what happens. You could multiply first and then divide by 2, or you could divide first and then multiply. I'm going to divide first, then multiply. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and of course 1 times 4 is 4. Okay, and then over here, 8 divided by 8, that cancels out. 8 divided by 8 is 1, and 1 times negative 3x is exactly that, negative 3x. And of course the equal sign comes straight down. Over here, 8 divided by 2 is 4, and of course 7 times 4 is 28. And last but not least, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and of course 2 times negative 3x. 2 times negative 3x is negative 6x, or a minus 6x. So this is our new simplified equation without fractions. We want to get x by itself on one side. I am going to get rid of the minus 6x by adding 6x. What I do to one side, I do to the other side, add 6x. And now I only have x's on the left side. What do I have so far? I have a 4, a plus 3x, and equals 28. I want to get x by itself. I need to get rid of both the 3 and the 4. The question is, which one do I get rid of first? That would be the 4. So let's subtract 4, subtract 4. That'll give you, that cancels, 3x equals 24. And that really means 3 times x equals 24. So you're going to divide by 3 and divide by 3, giving you your final answer, x equals positive 8. I hope this helps. Good luck.